Welcome to our channel. So today's topic is basic structure doctrine. So before going into the topic, you might have heard this basic structure doctrine when you read newspapers or even in polity. You might have come across cases like Keshwananda Bharti cases or Golaknath, Shankari Prasad, Mirava Mill case, SR Bommai case. What are these cases related to? And what is this basic structure doctrine? But before getting into the basic structure doctrine, there are certain things which every aspirant should know. We know that there's something called parliamentary supremacy. Here the parliament is supreme, and this is the case of UK. There's something called judiciary supremacy also. This we have seen with the case of USA. In India, we have a combination of both this. In India, we follow the policy of check and balance. The lawmaking power is in the hands of legislature, but even the judiciary has some power under Article 13, Article 142, etc. So this basic structure doctrine, the first case will be reading about Shankari Prasad case and Sajjan Singh case. But before that, I want to take you back to the 1950s time. When India got independence, the then Prime Minister Nehru, Jawaharlal Nehru, he had followed the socialist policy, and he brought in the First Amendment Act, where he abolished zamindari, brought in land reforms, distribution of land, and to implement, and this was all done to implement Article 39 B and C. So you have to tell me what are this article in the comment box below, and what is it related to? Is it socialist, intellectual, DPSP? Which type of DPSP is it? You have to tell me. But at the same time, there was another problem. So this was the first set of thing which was happening that time. Second thing was right to property. This was a fundamental right under Article 19. So what was the issue? Here, when they were abolishing the zamindari, there was something called acquisition of land or estate was also happening. So many private people lost their lands. Since right to property was a fundamental right, they reached court and they said that their fundamental rights have been curtailed. Court had interfered many times, and even they understood that fundamental rights are very important. They said it is a sacrosanct, but the parliament didn't know what to do. So they brought in the 9th schedule, and they started putting all the laws related to land reform in this 9th schedule. What was this 9th schedule? 9th schedule gave immunity. It gave immunity to all the laws which were placed in this 9th schedule from judicial review. Now, when this private people, the private players whose land had been taken by the government, they approached the court under Article 13(2), saying that the fundamental right has been curtailed. So this was the first time where the case was taken up in this Shankari Prasad and Sajjan Singh case. Here the Supreme Court ordered that Parliament has absolute power to amend the Constitution under Article 368. So this was the first time where Judiciary said that Parliament has absolute power. But this judgment took a reverse turn. It was a U-turn in this judgment, Golaknath case. Here, it was a bench of 11 judges headed by C.J. Subbarao. It said that the amending power of the Parliament and the law making of the Parliament are same. And it gave limitations or implied limitations on the Parliament to amend the Constitution. So what did it say? Parliament cannot amend fundamental rights. So it took a U-turn. In earlier case, it said the Parliament had the rights to amend the fundamental right. But here in Golaknath, it said it cannot. So the first time the word basic structure was used here in this case by M.K. Nambiar. But it resurfaced only in Keshwananda Bharti case. But for the first time, it was used here in this case. So what had happened next? Because of this, when this judgment was passed, Congress suffered huge losses. And there were many states where Congress lost. It had to do something to recreate the parliament supremacy. So it brought in two changes now. First one was nationalization of bank, and second one was abolition of privy purses. So what was this nationalization of bank? This happened in 1969. Here, the bank credit were extended to agriculture and rural areas, again to fulfill Article 39 B and C in the socialist policies. And this abolition of privy purses, this is related to the princely states. As we know that when India got independent, there were many princely states, and there was a demand from the princely state that once they accede to our union, they should be paid lump sum dues or kind of a pension. So this was abolished. But again, Supreme Court, the courts intervened and this struck it down. So this was a classic case, what we still study, fundamental right versus DPSP. So the DPSP was followed by the government and fundamental by judiciary. So when this thing happened, again when the court has intervened and they said, okay, this is unconstitutional, what to do? That time, Srimati Indira Gandhi was there in power. So in 1971, there was when she was ruling, she dissolved the house and she called for a snap election. And in this election manifesto, Constitution itself became the topic. Like, does the Constitution has the power, or does it give more power to judiciary? Then when the Congress came into power, it brought two new amendments. So what were those two amendments? 24th Amendment Act and 25th Amendment Act. This was related to the power of the Parliament to amend any part of the Constitution, even the fundamental rights. So this was brought by the Parliament, and in this it brought 31C and said that anything under 39B and C, to fulfill 39B and C article, it should not be challenged against Article 14, 19 or 31 itself. So this gave more power to the Parliament or the executive, in short. Again, parliamentary supremacy. What happened next? This was challenged in Keshwananda Bharti case, was the state of Kerala. Here the court said that Amendment Act 24, it's okay. We have no problem. The Parliament has power. It can amend any part of the Constitution, even the fundamental rights. We have no problem. But it said Amendment Act 25, it called it unconstitutional. Here, they said that the amendment power of Constitution is more important than the law-making power. And this should have some restrictions. And said that government cannot take the way of 368. This is how the Constitution is amended, which can harm the Constitution itself. So here the basic structure doctrine was reiterated, where it said the supremacy of the Constitution and the rule of law and other things was brought in. So what was the importance of this case? It gave the power back to the Parliament that you can actually amend any part of the Constitution, but you cannot amend those parts which are the basic structures. So what are those basic structures? We'll see at last. So here the Parliament could amend any part of the Constitution, but it cannot alter the basic structure or essential feature of the Constitution. So after this, we have seen this in Indira Nehru Gandhi versus Raj Narayan. So what was the case here? So the fight between the executive and the judiciary. These executives are the one who sit in the legislature when they make laws. So this was not over. There was a case going on against Srimati Indira Gandhi. It was related to malpractices. And here, the Supreme Court said, it was not Supreme Court, it was Allahabad High Court, sorry. It said that Prime Minister, since there is a case going on against you, you cannot draw salary and you cannot take part in the proceedings of the court. So to tackle this, the government brought 39th Amendment Act, which said that all the election dispute related to President, Vice President or Prime Minister is beyond the purview of judicial review. So in this case, Supreme Court again said that the doctrine of basic structure reaffirmed and the provision of 39th Amendment Act. What was it? Keeping the election dispute involving the Prime Minister and the Speaker outside the jurisdiction of court was invalidated. So again, they struck down this clause. But there were many other clauses. There were total 5 clauses. They upheld the 4 clauses, but this clause was struck down. And they said that judicial review is a basic structure. So the next case was Minerva Mill versus Union of India. So what had happened during this time? Before this, I'll take you back to this 1975 year, national emergency. In 1976, Government of India brought in 42nd Amendment Act. Swaran Singh Committee. This is even called as mini constitution. Here, it gave precedence to DPSP over fundamental right. This 42nd Amendment Act was challenged in minimum L case. Here, the court said judicial review and harmony between fundamental right were added to the basic structure. So it gave a fine balance. It maintained a fine balance between DPSP and fundamental right. It said both are important, but you need to make sure that they are balanced. So again, the judicial review, they reiterated that it's a basic structure. The next was Vaman Rao versus Union of India case. Here, the Supreme Court held that this doctrine, the basic structure doctrine, would be applied to constitutional amendment enacted after the date of judgment in Keshwananda Bharti case. So we have seen this is more related to the case study 9 schedule. We saw that there were many laws which were put in this 9 schedule, and all the laws which were inserted in this 9 schedule were free from judicial review. So the court said, okay, whatever you have done before 1973, since we didn't have this basic structure, those are immune. But anything after basic structure when it came into being, the Keshwananda Bharti case, any law which are placed under this 9th schedule are open to judicial review. Next case was Indra Sahane versus Union of India, 1992. Please do let me know which all article it talks about and what changes did it bring. It talked about rule of law and declared it as a part of basic structure. Next was S.R. Bommai versus Union of India. This is a very important case. Here, the Supreme Court said federalism, secularism, democracy, unity and integrity of the nation and social justice are basic structure of the Constitution, and the Constitution or so these are the basic structure of the Constitution, and Parliament do not have the power to abridge it. So in short, we have some basic structure. The first one is supremacy of the Constitution. Second, sovereign, democratic and republic nature of the Indian polity. Third, secular character of the Constitution. Fourth, separation of power between the legislative, executive and judiciary. Fifth, federal character. Sixth, unity and integrity. Welfare state. Judicial review. Almost everything is open for judicial review. Freedom and dignity of individuals. Parliamentary system. Balance between fundamental rights and DPSP. Principle of equality, rule of law. So these are some of the elements of basic structure. There was a question in prelims, like it was related to the basic structure saying that it's a part of the Constitution. No, it's a judicial innovation. So it can be asked again, and all the case study, what are the cases you need to remember, I have already explained you. I hope whatever I've tried to explain, it's now easy for you to remember, because this basic structure doctrine is very important. So this is it for today. I hope you liked the video. Thank you.